The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the mining colony of Erendor. People laughed and shouted, their voices carrying over the red dust plains. Children ran between the crystal towers, their small hands brushing the glowing minerals that shimmered under the fading sunlight. Today was a special day. The miners had finished collecting the largest crystal harvest in decades, and the entire colony had gathered to celebrate. Music played, and the smell of roasted food filled the air. Laughter echoed through the streets like waves, and for a moment, everyone forgot about the harsh world outside the colony walls. Captain Rhea walked through the crowd, her eyes scanning the horizon. She smiled faintly at the children, but there was a tension in her shoulders she could not hide. Something felt off. She could not tell what it was, only that the wind carried a strange hum today. Even the animals were uneasy. Small creatures that usually scurried near the market stalls hid in the shadows. The colony dogs barked at nothing, their eyes fixed on the sky. Lyra, the scientist, stood near the edge of the celebration, her notebook clutched tightly to her chest. She had spent the morning analyzing unusual energy readings from the sky. Nothing in their records matched the patterns she was seeing. The hum that Rhea noticed was also in her instruments, rising and falling like the pulse of a living creature. She frowned and looked up, shading her eyes. The sun, which had been bright just minutes ago, was fading strangely, as if something above was blocking its light. Then it happened. A crack appeared in the sky. At first, it was thin, almost like a scratch on a glass window. But it grew quickly, stretching across the horizon. People stopped laughing and stared. Their joy froze, replaced by a sense of unease. The crack shimmered with colors no one had ever seen, flickering between blue, green, and violet. The wind dropped, leaving the air heavy and still. A low rumble rolled across the plains, shaking the crystal towers and making the laughter die in everyone's throat. Children clung to their parents, their eyes wide. Even the adults felt the chill creeping into their bones. Captain Rhea stepped forward, trying to calm the crowd. Everyone, stay calm. Move inside the shelters. Don't panic, she called. But her voice seemed weak against the strange hum that now filled the air. The sound was not just heard, it was felt. It vibrated through the ground, through the bones, and through the heart. Lyra could not look away from the crack. Her instruments went wild, reading energy levels that should have been impossible. She whispered to herself, "It's alive. It's like it knows we are watching." Her words were almost drowned by the sudden silence. The animals, even the colony dogs, had stopped moving. The wind had vanished completely. The people of Erendor could only stand and stare at the sky, frozen by fear and curiosity. Then shadows moved inside the crack. Strange shapes, dark and reflective, twisted and shifted against the shimmering light. No one could tell what they were, but their presence was terrifying. The shadows seemed to reach out toward the colony, stretching as if hungry for something. People screamed, but the sound felt distant, as if it did not belong to this world. Captain Rhea moved to the front, her hand resting on the hilt of her sidearm. "Stay back," she shouted. Her voice was firm, but she could not hide the worry in her eyes. A child's laughter broke the tension for a moment, high and clear. The shadows recoiled slightly, flickering. Then the crack pulsed, brighter and stronger. The sky seemed to ripple like water, and the child's laughter stopped. The boy clutched his mother's hand, and she whispered, it's okay," though her voice trembled. No one moved. No one spoke. Only the crack and the strange hum filled the world. Rhea took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She thought of the colony, of the families who depended on her, and of the people who had built their lives here. She would protect them, no matter what. Lyra scribbled notes in her notebook, her mind racing. She had to understand this. She had to find out what was coming through that crack. The wind shifted suddenly, carrying a metallic taste. Dust and small rocks swirled around, pulled toward the crack like they were drawn by an invisible hand. The colors inside the sky opened wider, and now everyone could see figures inside, tall, shimmering beings moving slowly. They did not walk. They floated, their shapes constantly changing, reflecting light like broken mirrors. Their presence was overwhelming, and the colony fell silent. Even the bravest soldiers turned pale. Captain Rhea raised her hand, signaling the crowd to retreat to shelters. She did not take her eyes off the sky. Lyra followed, notebook still open, heart pounding. People ran, dragging children, carrying supplies, moving as quickly as the red dust allowed. But no one could stop looking at the crack. The figures were watching them, aware, intelligent, and terrifying. Then the first sound came from the sky. Not a voice, not music, but a deep, resonating vibration that shook the ground and rattled the crystal towers. It was not a threat yet, but a warning. The laughter of the colony had died completely. Fear replaced joy, but curiosity lingered. Everyone wanted to understand what had opened in the sky, yet no one dared come closer. Captain Rhea whispered to Lyra, "Prepare yourself. This is just the beginning." And for the first time in the history of Erendor, the sky was no longer safe. The colony of Erendor woke the next morning to a sky that still did not feel like their own. The crack that had opened yesterday stretched across the horizon like a wound in the heavens. The shimmering colors had faded slightly, but the strange hum remained. No birds flew. No animals moved. Even the wind seemed to avoid the plains. People walked cautiously through the streets, whispering to one another, their eyes constantly flicking upward. Captain Rhea called a meeting at the command center. Her soldiers stood silently, their faces pale, while Lyra adjusted her instruments, trying to make sense of the alien energy readings. "We need to understand them," Lyra said, pointing at the strange spikes of light coming from the crack. "This isn't just a storm or natural phenomenon. They're intelligent." Rhea nodded. "Then we find a way to contact them. Carefully. We cannot make a mistake." Her voice was calm, but inside, her heart beat fast. She had led the colony through dangerous dust storms and rock quakes, but nothing had felt like this. These beings were unknown, unpredictable. Outside the command center, the villagers gathered near the walls of the colony. Fear and curiosity mingled in their eyes. Many remembered the laughter that had died the previous day. They had tried to go about their daily routines, but the air felt heavy, and the sky seemed to watch them. Even simple tasks, like gathering water or repairing crystal equipment, felt like challenges when the eyes of the unknown seemed upon them. Lyra walked toward the crack with a small team of researchers. Their instruments beeped and blinked wildly, unable to keep up with the energy surging from above. The crack pulsed in rhythm with the hum, and strange shadows moved inside it. She noticed patterns, almost like waves, and she whispered, "They are not random. They are reacting to us." A sudden vibration ran through the ground. The soldiers stumbled slightly, and a low growl echoed from the crystal towers. Something moved inside the crack. A dark, reflective shape slowly descended. Its edges shimmered, and its surface twisted like liquid metal. No one could tell where it began or ended. It was massive, taller than any building, and yet it floated with a calm grace. Captain Rhea signaled everyone to stay back. "Do not approach. Observe only," she ordered. Her mind raced with questions. What did these beings want? Were they dangerous? Or were they curious, like scientists examining a new species? The floating figure stopped above the colony. Then, without warning, the hum became a vibration that everyone could feel in their bones. Fear and unease spread like fire. People gasped and stepped back, clutching their children. The figure shimmered, and the light around it seemed to bend, pulling shadows toward it. The colony dogs barked frantically, then stopped as if silenced. Lyra studied her instruments frantically. "They are reading us," she said. "Not just our movements, our emotions. They feel fear." Captain Rhea's jaw tightened. "Then we need to control it. We cannot let them feed on our fear." She looked at the crowd, realizing the weight of her responsibility. Every person here depended on her to stay strong. If she faltered, the colony could collapse. Suddenly, a small group of villagers tried to flee. They ran toward the outer gates, dragging children and belongings. The floating figure reacted instantly. The light around it shifted, and a wave of energy pushed the runners back. They fell to the ground, stunned but not harmed. A warning. Rhea clenched her fists. These beings were not mindless. They understood threats and responded to them. Lyra made a decision. She moved closer to the edge of the observation deck, raising her arms. She focused on steadying her own fear, thinking only of hope and courage. The figure hovered above, its surface reflecting her image in twisted patterns. For a moment, it paused. The air felt charged, alive, and uncertain. "Captain," she whispered. "It is reacting to me. Maybe we can communicate, or at least show it we are not afraid." Rhea nodded. She had no choice but to trust Lyra's instincts. The soldiers formed a line behind them, ready to intervene if anything went wrong. The villagers watched silently, holding their breath. Every eye was on the sky crack, and every heart pounded with a mix of fear and fascination. Then the figure pulsed with light, sending ripples across the sky. The hum turned into a low, vibrating voice, not in words, but in feelings. Curiosity. Power. Observation. It was as if the being was testing them, sensing their hearts. A shiver ran through the colony, and yet no one moved. Lyra's hand shook, but she did not step back. "We are not your enemies," she said softly, though she did not know if the being could understand her words. "We are alive. We are not afraid." The sky crack pulsed again, brighter this time. The figure tilted slightly, almost as if studying her. The air grew heavier, and everyone felt a strange energy crawling over their skin. Captain Rhea steadied herself, looking at the sky with determination. She knew one thing: this encounter had only just begun, and the colony's survival depended on their courage. For the first time, the people of Erendor understood that they were not alone. Something intelligent, powerful, and incomprehensible had arrived, and it was learning, watching, and waiting. The sky was no longer just the sky. It had become a doorway to the unknown, and the humans had to find a way to stand against what came through it. The floating figure moved slowly away from the colony, retreating toward the sky crack. But the hum remained, and the energy vibrations lingered. It had left a warning, a message without words. Captain Rhea turned to Lyra. "This is bigger than we thought. We need a plan. And we need it now." And deep in the shadows of the crack, more shapes stirred. Watching. Waiting. Learning. The colony of Erendor tried to return to normal, but nothing felt normal anymore. The sky crack stretched across the horizon like a silent threat, pulsing with strange colors and that constant hum that vibrated in their bones. People whispered in fear, glancing upward at the shimmering wound in the sky. Even the simplest task, gathering food or checking crystal equipment, felt heavy with tension. No one laughed. No one played. Captain Rhea patrolled the streets, her eyes sharp and alert. Soldiers followed closely, ready for anything. She had learned yesterday that these beings were intelligent, powerful, and capable of sensing fear. Every heartbeat mattered. Every trembling hand mattered. Rhea knew that panic could be fatal. Lyra worked tirelessly in the lab, analyzing the energy readings from the sky crack. Her instruments had gone wild. The patterns she saw were not chaotic, they were responsive. Every movement, every emotion from the colony seemed to send ripples across the crack. "They are alive," Lyra murmured. "Not in a way we understand. They feel, they react, and they feed on what we project." A sudden scream echoed from the outskirts of the colony. Villagers had tried to approach the energy readings, curious and defiant. The figure from the sky crack had reacted violently, bending the air and the light around it. Rocks and dust had lifted from the ground and spun in strange spirals, though no one was hurt. The scream was of shock and fear, a warning to anyone who dared test the beings. Rhea rushed toward the source, followed by a squad of soldiers. She found a small group huddled together, their faces pale, trembling. The largest crystal tower nearby had begun to glow unnaturally, reacting to the alien energy. Lyra joined them, notebook in hand, trying to understand. "It's reacting to fear," she said quickly. "Every movement, every sound, it's feeding on what scares us. We cannot panic." The villagers stared at the crack, frozen. The shadows inside moved slowly, almost lazily, yet their presence was terrifying. They were like tall, reflective mirrors that bent light and distorted the air around them. Captain Rhea raised her voice, steady and strong. "Focus. Stay calm. Don't let them feed on your fear." For a moment, it seemed to work. The shadows flickered and paused, almost like they were confused. The vibration of the crack slowed slightly, and the air felt less oppressive. Lyra's heart raced. "They are sensitive," she whispered. "Not just intelligent, They can sense control over emotion. We might be able to fight them, without weapons. Rhea looked around at the colony, at the terrified faces of children and adults alike. Then we use it. Every moment of courage, every ounce of hope, we project it. She turned to Lyra. Can we try it? Now. Lyra nodded. She took a deep breath and focused. She pictured light and warmth flowing from her heart. Calmness, courage, and hope. Around her, soldiers followed her lead, focusing on steadying their own fear. The villagers hesitated, but a few brave ones joined, forcing themselves to smile and lift their heads. The sky crack pulsed violently, brighter than before. The shadows inside twisted and flickered, as if resisting something. Lyra's vision blurred with fear and strain, but she held on. She could feel the connection, the alien energy reacting to their emotions, fighting against the hope they projected. A child giggled softly, breaking the tension. The sound was small, but it hit the crack like a tiny arrow. The shadows recoiled slightly. The vibration lessened. Captain Rhea's eyes widened. It works. Keep it up. Everyone, stay calm and show them we are not afraid. The village joined in cautiously, lifting their heads, holding their courage close. The crack pulsed, struggled, and then shimmered as if unsure. The beings inside seemed to be learning. Observing. Testing. Lyra felt a spark of hope. They can be fought, she whispered. Not with guns or weapons, but with our strength, our emotions. But the crack was not defeated yet. A low vibration rolled through the ground, stronger than before. The shadows inside twisted violently, and the air grew thick with tension. One figure rose higher, larger, more threatening than before. Its reflective surface shimmered with colors none of them could name, and for a moment, even Captain Rhea's courage faltered. The colony froze. Every heartbeat felt loud. Every small noise could be sensed by the beings above. The child who had giggled before now clung to her mother's leg, silent. The shadows twisted again, and a low hum, deeper than before, filled the colony. Lyra's hand shook, but she did not step back. We have to keep going, she said. If we falter now, they will feed on our fear and grow stronger. We must control ourselves. Rhea nodded, gripping her sidearm though she knew it was useless. Then we fight with what makes us human, she said quietly. Our courage, our hope, and our unity. The sky crack pulsed once more, brighter than ever, and for the first time, the colony understood something terrifying and powerful. This battle would not be fought with weapons. It would be fought in their hearts. And deep inside the crack, the alien figures watched, learned, and waited, preparing for what was coming next. The sky crack had grown wider, stretching across the horizon like a silver wound. The hum that had haunted the colony for days now vibrated through every building, every street, every heart. Captain Rhea stood at the command center, staring at the sky with tense focus. The colony had learned that these beings were not mindless, they could sense fear, hope, and courage. Every heartbeat mattered, every trembling thought could be felt. Lyra adjusted her instruments, which now beeped and blinked faster than ever. The readings were off the charts, more intense than anything she had seen in her life. They are studying us, she said. Not just observing, learning. They respond to emotion. Every movement, every feeling, it changes them. Rhea's soldiers lined the perimeter, gripping weapons that suddenly felt useless. They had tried to prepare, but they knew conventional tools would not stop what hovered above them. The reflective shapes in the sky crack twisted and pulsed, showing no faces, no forms they could recognize. And yet, there was intelligence there. A quiet, dangerous intelligence. Then, for the first time, one of the beings descended. Slowly, silently, it floated above the central plaza. Its body shimmered like molten metal, reflecting the light and colors of the crack in impossible patterns. Its surface rippled as if alive, bending the air around it. No one moved. No one dared breathe too loudly. Captain Rhea stepped forward, her heart pounding. She had led this colony through storms, dustquakes, and raids by space raiders, but nothing had felt like this. This was not just a threat. It was something utterly unknown, powerful, and aware. She raised her hand in a gesture of calm. Stay calm, she whispered to her soldiers. Do not make sudden movements. Do not show fear. Lyra stood beside her, clutching her notebook. She could feel the energy from the being like a weight pressing down on her chest. The instruments beeped wildly, detecting fluctuations in the alien's energy field. She realized something terrifying and incredible at the same time. The being was reading not just fear, but intent. It could sense their thoughts, their courage, their very will to survive. A sudden flicker of movement caught everyone's eyes. The alien extended what looked like an arm, or maybe it was just a ripple in its form, and the light around it bent toward a small child who had wandered too close. The colony held its breath. The child froze, staring at the figure, eyes wide, unafraid. For a moment, the being hesitated, pulsing brightly. Rhea felt a rush of hope. "It's learning," she said. "It is curious about courage. About control." She gestured to the soldiers. "Keep calm. Show it we are united. Stand strong." Lyra nodded. She closed her eyes and focused on steadying her own fear. She imagined warmth and light radiating from her heart, calmness flowing outward. The being paused, shimmering violently, then tilted slightly, almost as if acknowledging the effort. A ripple of light extended from it toward the colony, brushing over the buildings and people, and everyone felt a strange pressure, like the weight of countless eyes examining them. Then the hum changed. It became a sound that could almost be called a voice, low and resonant, though it carried no words. The vibration flowed into their minds, filling them with images, vast landscapes, swirling colors, and forms beyond imagination. Lyra gasped. "It's trying to communicate, without words," she whispered. "It's showing us, or testing us." Suddenly, the figure pulsed violently, bending light around it like a storm. Dust and small rocks lifted from the ground, swirling in tight spirals. The colony's dogs barked, then fell silent, ears flat against their heads. The soldiers gripped their weapons, but even they knew it would not matter. Nothing would stop the being if it chose to act aggressively. Rhea held her ground. She thought of the colony, of the people depending on her. She thought of courage, hope, and unity. Her pulse steadied. She could feel the alien reading her resolve, testing it. She raised her voice, steady and firm. "We are not your enemies. We will not show fear." The being paused, tilting toward her. The light around it shimmered in impossible patterns, and for a moment the hum slowed. Then it bent its form, reaching toward the central plaza, and everyone felt a strange energy press on their minds. Fear threatened to creep in, but Rhea stood firm. Lyra focused her thoughts on calmness and control, and the others followed, letting courage flow through them like a shield. The alien recoiled slightly. It pulsed again, less violently this time, almost hesitant. It had learned something. Humans were not just fragile, screaming creatures. They could control their fear. They could be brave. And that realization seemed to interest the being, or perhaps frustrate it. Rhea exhaled slowly, the first time in days she felt some hope. "We can survive this," she whispered. "If we stay united, if we control our fear, we can stand against them." Lyra scribbled notes frantically. The readings were unprecedented. "They are not mindless," she said. "Not invincible. But they are aware. Every move counts. Every thought counts. We must be careful, but we can fight this." The being floated back toward the crack, pausing once to shimmer brightly, as if acknowledging the human's courage. Then it slowly disappeared into the shimmering wound, leaving the colony trembling but alive. Captain Rhea turned to her people. "This is just the beginning," she said. "But we have learned something important. We can stand. We can fight. And together, we are stronger than they expect." And above the red plains of Erendor, the sky crack remained, a gateway to the unknown, pulsing with alien energy, waiting for the next move. The colony of Erendor woke to an uneasy silence. The sky crack still stretched across the horizon, pulsing faintly with colors that made the plains shimmer. The hum that had haunted them for days now vibrated gently, almost teasingly, like a heartbeat they could not ignore. Captain Rhea patrolled the streets, her eyes sharp, her mind racing. She knew the beings above were watching, learning, waiting. Lyra worked in the lab, her instruments reading waves of energy that seemed alive. "They are surrounding us," she said quietly, showing Rhea the patterns on the screen. "Not physically. Not yet. But the energy, they are closing in. Like a net. We cannot run. We cannot hide. Rhea clenched her fists. Soldiers lined the streets, gripping their weapons, but everyone knew bullets and bombs would not stop what floated above them. The colony's defenses felt useless, but she refused to let fear control her. "We stand," she said firmly. "We survive. And we fight." The villagers walked cautiously through the streets, their eyes constantly flicking to the sky. The shadows within the crack twisted and pulsed, responding to every heartbeat, every whisper. Even a whisper of fear caused the light to flicker violently. People realized quickly that their emotions were no longer private. The aliens sensed everything. Fear, panic, courage, hope, all were visible to them. Lyra gathered a small group of volunteers. "We have no weapons," she said. "But we do have something they cannot take from us, our emotions. They react to fear, yes, but they also react to courage, hope, even joy. We can use that against them." Rhea listened carefully. "You mean, we fight with our hearts?" she asked. "Yes," Lyra said, her eyes shining. "Every bit of courage we can muster, every sign of hope or unity, it creates a force they cannot ignore. If we control ourselves, if we project strength instead of fear, we can push back." Rhea looked at the volunteers. They nodded, determination in their eyes. "Then we train," she said. "We cannot rely on instinct. We have to control ourselves, even when the pressure is unbearable. Every thought matters. Every heartbeat counts." The first session was tense. The group practiced staying calm under stress, forcing themselves to smile, to focus on courage. Lyra guided them, measuring energy levels and teaching them how to project emotion outward. The hum from the crack pulsed in response, sometimes soft, sometimes violently strong, testing their control. Meanwhile, the rest of the colony watched, learning from the brave volunteers. They realized that panic or despair only fed the beings above. Every scream, every cry of fear made the sky crack pulse stronger. But every steady breath, every moment of calm, weakened its influence. The humans were learning. They were becoming weapons without touching a single gun. Captain Rhea took a deep breath. She focused on the colony, imagining them as strong, united, brave. The beings above paused in their movements, ripples of light folding in strange patterns. It was as if they were puzzled. Humans had shown something unexpected, control over fear, a courage they could not anticipate. The child who had giggled days ago wandered into the training area, eyes wide. The volunteers smiled, showing calm confidence. The sky crack pulsed, shadows twisting violently, then flickered in hesitation. Lyra whispered, "They are learning, or maybe confused. They are testing us, but we can turn this to our advantage." Rhea nodded. "Then we make them understand. We will not be prey. We will be something more. Humans are clever, brave, and united. That is our weapon." The day ended with a new understanding. The aliens had the advantage of raw power, but humans had the advantage of will. The crack still pulsed above, still ominous, still dangerous. But for the first time, the colony felt a spark of hope. They were learning to fight in a way the beings had not expected. That night, as the red dust settled over Erendor, the sky crack shimmered faintly. Shadows moved within, almost cautiously, as if the aliens were aware of the change. Humans had learned to resist fear. Humans had learned to fight back, with courage, hope, and unity. Captain Rhea stood at the edge of the colony, looking up. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "we show them that we are not afraid. Tomorrow, we strike with our hearts." And somewhere deep in the sky crack, the aliens observed, patient, intelligent, and slowly beginning to understand that the humans were not as weak as they first thought. The dawn came slowly over Erendor, painting the red dust plains in soft gold. The colony moved cautiously, each step measured, each heartbeat controlled. The sky crack pulsed faintly, a constant reminder that the beings above were still watching, learning, waiting. Captain Rhea gathered the volunteers and soldiers in the central plaza. Today, they would attempt something new, a controlled projection of courage and hope, a force strong enough to push back against the unknown. Lyra adjusted her instruments, scanning the sky crack. "We know they react to fear," she said, "but they also respond to other emotions. Courage, hope, joy, they all create energy that can affect the crack. If we control ourselves, we can make them hesitate, even falter. Rhea nodded. Then we do this together. Everyone must focus, steady your minds, and project calm and courage. If we panic, it will only make them stronger. Stay together. Trust each other. The volunteers formed a circle in the plaza, holding hands, closing their eyes. Lyra guided them, counting slowly, telling them to breathe and imagine light flowing from their hearts. Soldiers stood outside the circle, projecting their own confidence and calm. Even the villagers nearby were encouraged to join in, letting fear fall away and replacing it with determination. The sky crack pulsed violently as the humans focused, bending light and shadows around it. The reflective shapes inside twisted in response, almost like they were trying to push back against the invisible wave of emotion. The hum grew louder, resonating with the energy the humans were creating. The aliens were powerful, but the humans had something they could not match: control over their fear and unity in their hearts. A child's soft laugh escaped the circle, a small, spontaneous sound of joy. The sky crack flickered violently, then pulsed in hesitation. The beings above recoiled slightly, as if surprised. The humans held steady. Rhea projected calm and courage, her mind clear and focused. Soldiers followed, projecting strength. The volunteers in the circle radiated hope and confidence, forcing the crack to ripple in ways it had never done before. Lyra's instruments beeped frantically. "It's working," she shouted. "The energy from their emotions is interacting with the crack. It's reacting to us, not violently, but it's struggling." The crack shimmered, bending light and dust around it. Shadows twisted and flickered, hesitant now. The humans projected more courage, more determination. Even fear tried to creep in, but they pushed it away. Every heartbeat, every breath, added strength to the invisible wave. The colony felt it in their bones, a vibration that was theirs and theirs alone. Rhea's voice rose over the hum, firm and steady. "Do not falter. We control our fear. We are brave. We are united." Her words carried across the plaza, giving strength to every person present. The sky crack pulsed again, brighter this time, then shimmered and recoiled slightly. The shadows inside twisted and hesitated. For the first time, the colony of Erendor saw that their emotions could be a weapon. They had no guns or bombs capable of affecting the beings, but their courage, unity, and hope pushed back against the alien presence. Lyra's instrument showed fluctuations in energy levels as the beings adapted, testing the humans, learning from them. The humans held their ground, standing tall in the plaza. Sweat dripped from foreheads, hearts pounded, but not from fear, from determination. The sky crack pulsed, and then, for a brief moment, it shimmered like liquid silver, as if acknowledging the humans' effort. The beings were learning, and the humans had gained their first victory, not by destroying them, but by showing strength. Rhea lowered her hand slowly, taking a deep breath. "We did it," she whispered. "This is only the beginning, but we are not powerless. We are strong. And together, nothing can break us." The sun rose higher, casting long shadows over the plaza. The crack above remained, shimmering faintly, but the humans knew they could stand against it. They had discovered a new kind of weapon, not forged from metal or fire, but from hearts and minds. And far above, the alien shapes observed, twisting and shifting, learning from the humans below. They were patient, intelligent, and aware. But for the first time, they had met resistance, not from weapons, but from courage, hope, and unity. The battle for Erendor had changed. Humans had learned to fight in a way the beings had not expected. And the sky crack waited, pulsing, preparing for what would come next. The sky over Erendor burned with light as the sun rose, casting long shadows across the red plains. The sky crack pulsed violently, twisting and bending in impossible patterns. Shadows inside moved faster, larger, more threatening than before. The humans knew that this was the ultimate test. They had learned to project courage, hope, and unity, but now they had to push further. Captain Rhea stood in the central plaza, her gaze fixed on the sky crack. Soldiers and volunteers formed a circle, holding hands, their eyes steady. The villagers stood behind them, projecting calm and strength as best they could. Lyra adjusted her instruments one last time, checking energy levels and the response of the alien beings. "This is it," she whispered. "We push everything we have. We project every ounce of courage and hope we can muster. This wave has to reach them all at once. The humans took a deep collective breath. Every heartbeat, every thought, every spark of determination focused outward like a visible wave of light and energy. The sky crack pulsed in response, brighter and faster than ever. The alien shapes twisted violently, bending the air and light around them, testing the humans' resolve. Captain Rhea raised her voice. We do not fear them. We are brave. We are united. Together, nothing can break us. The humans projected every emotion, courage, hope, even joy, into a single force that radiated across the plaza, through the colony, and up into the sky crack. The aliens shuddered as the energy hit them, their reflective forms flickering violently. Light bent, shadows twisted, and for the first time, the beings recoiled. They had not expected resistance like this. They had not understood the strength of unity and courage. Lyra watched in awe. Her instruments showed energy levels beyond anything she had imagined. The human's emotional wave was interacting with the crack itself, destabilizing the shadows, bending the alien energy back upon them. Every person in the colony felt the vibration in their bones, a pulse that connected them all. They were fighting together as one. One alien figure surged forward, larger and more threatening than the rest, but the humans did not falter. Captain Rhea's courage, combined with the circle of volunteers and the silent support of the villagers, formed a force too strong to ignore. The figure twisted and shivered under the pressure of the emotional wave, then began to retreat slowly toward the crack. The humans held steady, not letting fear creep in, projecting strength until the largest figure finally disappeared back into the crack. The other shadows flickered and twisted, then followed, retreating slowly. The crack shimmered violently one last time before it began to shrink, closing slightly as if acknowledging the human strength. For the first time, the colony breathed freely. They had not destroyed the beings, but they had survived. They had stood against a power far beyond any weapon and won through courage, hope, and unity. Captain Rhea lowered her hand, her chest heaving. Lyra smiled, tears in her eyes. We did it, she said softly. We fought with our hearts. And we won. The sky crack remained, faint and shimmering, a reminder that the threat was not gone, only held at bay. The humans of Erendor had learned something powerful, that their greatest weapon was themselves. Their courage, unity, and hope could challenge even the most alien and powerful forces. Captain Rhea turned to the colony. We are strong, she said. And as long as we stand together, nothing can break us. This is our victory, but the universe is still vast, and we must always be ready. Above the red plains, the sky crack pulsed softly, the alien shapes retreating but watching. They had learned too, realizing that humans were more than fragile creatures, they were clever, brave, and united. And in that knowledge, a silent respect passed between worlds, leaving the colony of Erendor stronger than ever before. The colony of Erendor woke to a quiet morning unlike any they had seen. The sky crack had shrunk, leaving only faint shimmer in the horizon, but the hum of alien energy lingered, soft and almost thoughtful. For the first time, the villagers, soldiers, and volunteers moved without fear. Children laughed cautiously, their voices carrying across the red plains. Humans had survived the impossible, had stood against a power far beyond their understanding, and had prevailed, not with weapons, but with courage, hope, and unity. Captain Rhea walked through the streets, greeting her people. Soldiers straightened their backs, villagers nodded with quiet pride, and Lyra followed, scanning the residual energy that still lingered in the air. The beings, they are gone, for now, Lyra said. But they left traces. Energy we don't fully understand. It's a warning, not a defeat. Rhea's gaze lifted to the horizon. We won today, she said softly. But we must never forget. The universe is vast, and not all that is out there will be like us. We survived because we stood together. We survived because we chose courage over fear. Lyra studied the instruments carefully. Tiny fluctuations in the sky shimmered faintly, almost like a heartbeat. They are still learning, she said. This wasn't just an attack. It was a test. They will remember what humans can do. The colony worked together to repair damaged buildings, restore equipment, and rebuild their lives. But the memory of the sky crack, the pulsing light, and the alien forms remained fresh in everyone's minds. They had faced something unimaginable and had discovered that their emotions, their unity, and their will could be more powerful than any weapon. Children played near the crystal towers, their laughter bright and cautious. Adults smiled, yet kept one eye on the horizon. Even in victory, the humans of Erendor understood that the universe was unpredictable. There were things they did not understand, forces far older and wiser than themselves. But they also understood something else. No matter how vast or unknown, humanity's courage, unity, and hope could shine through. Captain Rhea stood atop the central plaza, watching the sky crack flicker faintly one last time before it began to fade. She thought of the courage of her people, of Lyra's intelligence, of the volunteers and soldiers who had risked everything with calm hearts. She felt a deep pride. Humans had not only survived, they had proven that they were clever, resilient, and brave. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the red plains, a faint flicker shimmered in the sky crack. It was subtle, almost like a signal. The colony paused, silent, sensing the presence. Lyra whispered, "It's a warning. They are still out there, watching, learning, preparing." Rhea nodded. "Then we remain vigilant," she said. "But we also remember what we are capable of. Together, we can face anything." The humans of Erendor returned to their lives, stronger, wiser, and united. They had faced the unknown and discovered their greatest weapon, the strength within themselves. The sky crack faded into the distance, but the lesson remained: the universe is full of mysteries, but humanity's courage will never be defeated. And somewhere deep among the stars, the alien beings waited, their curiosity alive, their respect for humans quietly acknowledged. The galaxy was vast, but humans had made their mark. The laughter of the colony returned fully, soft and joyous, echoing across the red plains. Yet in the back of every mind, there was a reminder: the universe watches, and the humans of Erendor were ready.